Alright, everybody. Welcome to the vocabulary lesson. This is the 57th vocabulary lesson. Now, we are on the vocabulary lesson 57. So, we're going to be talking about the word metaphor. Metaphor and metaphorically. So, now we're going to go here. Metaphor means a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable. Her poetry depends on suggestion and metaphor. Similar, figure of speech, figurative, expression, image, trope, allegory, parable, analogy, comparison, symbol, emblem, word painting, word picture, conceit. Never heard of that before. A thing regarded as representative or symbolic of something else, especially something abstract. The amounts of money being lost by the company were enough to make it a metaphor for an industry that was teetering. Teetering. It's kind of new. A figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable. The song used sunshine as a metaphor for joy. I made a metaphor of the situation. Metaphor is a figure of speech in which it compares two things. For example, it feels like a desert here. Metaphor, for example, she is like the sun. That's a metaphor. So the movie is Ralph Breaks the Internet. Ralph Breaks the Internet 2018. Vanellope says, oh steering wheel, oh yes, I want a steering wheel. And then she's scatting whatever she was doing. And that female person name is the Beauty. The Beauty says, well, there is a lot to unpack here. So this steering wheel you sing of, that's a metaphor? And Vanellope says, oh, no. It's not a metaphor. I literally want a steering wheel. And then, so now she's singing a song. Whatever the song is. And here it says, what can it be that calls me to this place today? This lawless car ballet. What can it be? I am a baby pigeon, sprouting wings to soar. Was that a metaphor? Hey, there's a dollar store. Look, I'm rhyming. My spirit's climbing. And that is a song that she sang with that word metaphor. And the Good Burger movie, The Good Burger, 1997. Kurt says, all right. Even though when Dexter had interrupted, saying something about Kurt, out there getting naked, and now he's just whispering into that girl's ear, and now Kurt was saying, "Who said that? The Kurt is out of talking," and that guy says that was him. He uttered something. And then he was looking real nervous. And then Kurt was like, well, I should have known. And then Dexter says, well, I'm sorry that I uttered. And then, oh, but, you know what? Huh. At Monoburger, and they, at Monoburger, there are no comedians. You mess with Kurt and you go into the grinder. Dexter says, okay, now this grinder of yours, is it a real grinder or is it some kind of a metaphor? Whatever, but it's a joke, That is just a joke. The grinder kind of means that you are in trouble, big trouble, you know. That's just a metaphor, And the Alien 3, 1992, Ripley says, I have a pretty good idea of where it is. It's just down there in the basement, Aaron. This whole place is a basement. Ripley says, it's a metaphor. That's what she said. And then Deadpool 2, 2018. Deadpool says, everyone calm down. The pros are here. I wear the X-Men, a dated metaphor for racism in the 60s, so respect. Now we're going to be talking about metaphorically. Metaphorically, in a way that uses or relates to metaphor, figuratively. Speaking metaphorically, my dad said I'd won the lottery. Like all good scripture, me and dog can be read literally as well as metaphorically. Unruly places is all about going off the map. Metaphorically and physically, Paul and Cuccinelli did not stand alone, physically or metaphorically. A metaphor is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. Metaphor means is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. And again, metaphor is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. And again, metaphor is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. Metaphor means is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. And again, metaphor means is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. One last time. Metaphor is an illustrated way of expressing an idea. Next, metaphorically means it's in figurative. Metaphorically means it's in figurative. Metaphorically means it's in figurative. One last time. Metaphorically means it's in figurative. I recall this is a metaphor if it relates to caterpillars and how butterflies form. That's a metaphor. A metaphor is a figure of speech that makes an implicit, implied, or hidden comparison between two things that are unrelated but which share some common characteristics. In other words, laughter is the best medicine. That is a metaphor. Metaphor is a phrase that is used to describe something in a different way. Her long hair was a flowing golden river. That's a metaphor. The snow is a white blanket. It's a metaphor. Kisses are the flowers of affection. It's a metaphor. The calm lake was a mirror. It's a metaphor. The falling snowflakes are dancers. It's a metaphor. Tom's eyes were ice as he stared at her. It's a metaphor. Those words here, it is a metaphor. Now, there's a song called Ride. It's a song. It's a Ride song by 21 Pilots. A bullet for them, a bullet for you, a bullet for everybody in this room, but I don't seem to see many bullets coming through. See many bullets coming through. Metaphorically, I'm the man. Metaphorically is to do something figuratively or like a metaphor. I metaphorically referred to the picture as being ugly and boring. Metaphorically means to relate to a metaphor figuratively. Metaphorically means in a way that uses or figuratively. Speaking metaphorically, my dad said I just won the lottery. Metaphor, for example, the sun rising. Metaphor can be a phrase. Metaphor can be a phrase. And again, metaphor can be a phrase. Metaphor can be a phrase. And again, metaphor can be a phrase. Metaphor can be a phrase. And again, metaphor can be a phrase. Metaphor can be a phrase. One last time. Metaphor can be a phrase. Metaphor is when you compare two things that are different, but they do have something in common. Metaphor is when you compare two things that are different, but they do have something in common. Metaphor is when you compare two things that are different, but they do have something in common. One last time. Metaphor is when you compare two things that are different, but they do have something in common. Metaphor is a literary device. His words are plurals of wisdom. Metaphor uses the similarity to a point. For example, her tears were a river flowing down her cheeks. That is a metaphor. Those words and phrases, they are the metaphor. It's a metaphor. Everything is a metaphor. When you use the words and the phrases that you're making up, it's a metaphor. Something is a metaphor. Alright, folks. That's it. The lesson is over.